I'll come back and talk about the first page, but I wanted to go over a couple examples first. Because I know some of you are starting on your homework. So, difference quotient, simplifying difference quotient is one of the objectives that you learned in Math 161. Same thing, so it's a good review. We're gonna simplify the difference quotient for this function. And using that difference quotient, we're going to plug in x value and h value, x value and h value, and figure out what the difference quotient is approaching. So first thing, the big algebra work today is simplifying the difference quotient. So example 1, find a simplified form of the difference quotient. And what is that? It is f of x plus h minus f of x over h. This is a rate of change formula as x goes from x to x plus h, and the y values are going from f of x to f of x plus h. So if you have 2 points on the curve, and if you want to find the average rate of change, you will subtract f of x plus h minus f of x. That's what the numerator here is, right? That is the change in the vertical or change in y's. That's the rise, right? Rise over run. That's the rise. And if you subtract the x values, the input values, you will do x plus h minus x. So that's why you only have what left? H in the bottom. So difference quotient, well, the name says it, right? The difference means subtraction. So you're subtracting the y values or output values and put it on top, and you're subtracting the x values or the input values and putting it in the bottom and making it a quotient. So it's really the rate of change formula. It's the slope formula. So after writing this down, and you don't have to memorize this formula, right? It's gonna be always given to you. But you're going to have to know how to set it up, okay? So first thing, let me go ahead and plug in x plus h into the function, okay? Let's substitute x plus h into the function. So you see the function is -3 times whatever the input is squared, right? The function is -3 times whatever the input is squared. And what we are saying is that input is x plus h. So that's what you're going to do here. Okay, you're going to do -3 times x plus h squared. Why do I have double parentheses? Let me get rid of this one. All right. After that, following the difference quotient formula, what comes after that? Minus sign. So I'll draw the minus sign. And after the minus sign, I need to do f of x. What is f of x? F of x is -3 x squared. Okay? So setting up the numerator is the challenging part, but once you have it written down, then we're ready to simplify using some algebra like FOIL, distributive property, and combining like terms. So if you can set it up, when I'm grading your work, you setting it up correctly, you're going to get, I'm going to get some credit for that, okay? So let's take a look. What do we have to do here? I do want you to make a note here, okay? Very often, you will see x plus h squared. Whenever you're evaluating or simplifying a difference quotient for a quadratic function, this guy will show up. They will ask you to square x plus h. If you want to do that every time, that's okay, but we'll go ahead and make a note over here so that we don't have to FOIL it out every time. So, remember that x plus h squared FOILs out to x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. And if I just have this, I just have it memorized. So every time I'm doing a difference quotient involving a quadratic function, that's always going to show up. Like right here, you see? It showed up right there. So in order to simplify that, I'll just use that note on the side. I'll say this is a note. My numerator is now -3 times x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Close the parenthesis. And now take a look. I have negative minus 3x squared. So that's going to turn into plus 3x squared, right? Still all over h. Now it's time for me to distribute the -3. Distribute the -3 to everything inside that parenthesis. I will get -3x squared minus 6xh minus 3h squared, and just bring down that plus 3x squared all over h. And it's time for us to cancel some things out. So do you notice that we have 3x squared that is negative and 3x squared that is positive? So those are canceled out. Out. What now I have is -6xh. These are the leftovers, minus 3h squared. And I'm trying to divide these two by h. Now luckily, both of the terms on the numerator has h. So what will happen is I'll cross out this h and I'll cross out one of the h from the second. But remember, the second term had 3h squared, so it still has one h left. So what's the simplified difference quotient? That will be -6x minus 3h. Circle that. This is the answer for the first part. Yay. So, you may wonder, like, what does this even mean, It means something very important, actually. In class next Wednesday, we're going to set this up as a limit problem, okay? We're going to say as h approaches 0, okay? This is a very important concept. This is going to take us to the definition of derivatives. So just hang in there. This lesson, we're focusing on the algebra piece, just practicing, reviewing, FOIL, distributing, combining like terms, setting it up. And now, well, just for the fun of it, let's go ahead and plug in these different x and h values in here. So if I plug in x of 3, remember the difference quotient is, let me bring this down so that I can see it. The difference quotient is this. Let me plug in 3 and 2. X is 3, h is 2. If I evaluate that, is that going to be -20? I don't know. I can't trust myself with this anymore. All right, let me go ahead and get a calculator. I'll have it open. Desmo Scientific. And I'll go ahead and type in -3 times 3, -6 times 3, minus 3 times 2. And I'm just going to have this up here because I have other values to plug in. That came out to be -24. Next, I need to type in what number? X of 3. I'll at least change the color and make it like rainbow looking. X is still 3, but H is 1. So if I plug that in, what will happen? What is the difference quotient approaching? Hold on. That's going to be -21. -21. Next, H is getting smaller. You can see H is approaching 0, right? All right, what's next? I'm going to plug in X is 3, but H is 0.1. What's that going to be? Let me go ahead and copy this and type this in my calculator, 0.1. It comes out to be -18.3. Ooh, where is it going? -18.3. And lastly, the h is getting really, really small. This time they want us to plug in h of 0.01. X is still 3, but h this time is 0.01. If I plug that in, what will that be? So let me try it. That comes out to be negative 18.03. I have a strong feeling that this difference quotient is approaching negative 18 as x approaches 0. We'll make the big connection during class next week, but this week I want you to focus on just the simplifying the algebra piece of this difference quotient, because in 1.4 we'll start talking about something called a limit definition of derivative, and this is going to be very important. Okay, knowing how to simplify all of this is going to be important. Now, how long have I been going? So this has been a 10-minute video. The other ones are very similar. I will come back and keep on recording and posting the rest of the note packet. Looks like the second one is a rational function, so this will be fun. All right, I'll stop this video here.